It's my goal for this event to showcase how the arts can influence people. We have several teachers, former students, and we have some young people here, people from the Springboro High School, both in performing in the auditorium and also demonstrating their art making skills. And I feel like it's all come together tonight in a good way. I feel like we've shown the people what the arts really mean, and that was the goal for this evening. But the bigger goal, the umbrella for this event, was to make a fundraiser for a new documentary that's in the works showcasing the Living Arts Center, which was in the city of Dayton back in the 60s. A group of us have come together and decided that we really want to make a tribute to this fantastic old warehouse that housed so many wonderful memories for us. And we're about halfway through at this point. We've interviewed about 50 different people, and we have talked to some of the guest artists. We've been to several locations across the country where we've interviewed up to 10 people in New York City, San Francisco, and 2 times in Dayton. Last summer, we opened up a mural that we painted as a commemorative mural about the Living Arts Center. So we're about halfway there. We need to continue to raise funds so that we can finish the project, and that's what this event was about. Well, me personally, I went to Living Arts for 6 years, from the time I was in 7th, 8th, and all the way through high school. And I studied in the art department, in the creative writing department, and also in the theater department. And each department brought different skills and different things for me. But I think the outcome of it was it made me a better person, because the arts are so important to people like me that don't fit in with sports. And I could be creative 24/7, and that was my goal, to just kind of have fun and be with other people that had similar mindsets. And I think that is so important for the kids today, that they can work with other kids, share ideas, and come up with some fun things, So that's what it's all about. And I think there's so many people here that have looked at me and said, what a nice event this is. I'm feeling really like on top of the world, because it was a lot of work to put this together, but the artists are happy. We've made some sales. I personally have sold 2 pieces of art, and some of the other artists have sold some things. So, we've had good food, we've had a successful evening. I made several quilts, and there's a big hole in the wall where I've sold 2 quilts this evening, and I'll have to rearrange it for another time. And I feel like I'm a fiber artist, and I feel like that was something that was really developed really back in my high school years, and it's followed me all this time up until where I'm now in my 60s. They can reach me online at Kathy Jeffers. It's Kathy Jeffers Art Quilts and Mixed Media on Facebook. And from time to time, I'm in different shows. I'll be in a show in April at Front Street, and I will be here in September with the Fiber Show 24. Well, I think everybody knows that this is a beautiful facility, and it's open to so many different opportunities for artists. But the main thing is that the Living Arts Center, just to recap, was a wonderful place for so many people. And I think people can watch a video that we have here about Living Arts and learn more about it at our website, which is www.fotlac.org.
Well, for me, one, it meant having an opportunity to truly have students be creative in the arts. And for me, music, of course, being the art that I was focusing on, giving them an opportunity not only to play their instruments, but for example, instead of someone telling them how to interpret the music that they're playing, use their own creativity in terms of how music should be played. Also to get them to create music. It's one thing to play something that somebody else has created, but it's a completely different a thing to create your own music and play it. So we had the students not only play their own instruments and create, but also to create their own music as well. That is, to be able to compose the music so that they could play something that they themselves created. And they would do some interesting things. We wanted them to be creative in all aspects of that. I remember a composition for 11 rocks, a door, and a trash can. So you can imagine the sounds that that made. And we wanted them to go out and gather things to come back and create music with. Not necessarily with traditional instruments, but with instruments that they would find and create natural instruments. And they would use their bodies and their hands and their voices, anything that they wanted to use to be creative, to do something that no one else had done. Primarily, I was an instrumentalist who taught them in ensemble playing and creating things for that, but we also had composers in residence who would come in and work with the students. And then, of course, you know, we had guest artists from all over the world who would come to this Living Arts program, Living Arts Center, to work with our students. I was just talking to Jim McCutcheon about Bunyan Webb, who was a guitarist who came in. And in one of the classes, Bunyan asked the students, how would they like to create a piece for guitar? And all of them said, well, we've never done that. And he explained to them how the guitar worked and what they could do to create something. And they began to work, and they worked. Bunyan gave a recital 3 days later, and to their surprise, he used excerpts from the pieces that they had done as one of his pieces. So they were just blown away at the fact that he would do that for them and how well they did, not really knowing how to play the instrument themselves. Well, I think, number one, it was a unique program. I don't know if there was never a program like that before the Living Arts. And to date, I don't believe there's ever been one like that since. I'm hoping that one day that might happen. So the students who experienced that experience a unique experience that no one else up until that time had experienced, and no one since then has. I got a text from a person who worked with me in the Living Arts program. Mark Stein was the name. He's living in Canada now. And he did a messenger to me on Facebook. And he wanted to know if this was the Clarence Walls that had worked with him at the Living Arts Center and how much of an impact that program had had on him. And this was 50 years later, he was sending that. And he just wanted to reach out and see if I was still around, for one thing, and then to see how I was doing, and to let me know that the program really changed his life in terms of how he saw himself and what he felt that he could do. And I'm thinking that that's happened to many students at the Living Arts Center and through the Living Arts program. It made them realize that they could be and do anything that they wanted to do or be. And the fact that it was such a diverse population. The Dayton public schools at that time were somewhat segregated, but here you had students of all races, backgrounds, creeds, religions, all getting together to work and come together as a group through the arts. And I thought that was just a fantastic opportunity for them to interact with people they would not have interacted with otherwise. They all came from the Dayton public schools, and they came to us after school and on Saturdays. So maybe 3 to 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening, and then on Saturdays all day. And they were all students from the Dayton public schools. My understanding is that it ended because of funding shortages. You know, there was a group called the SOS at that time that felt that students only needed the 3 R's, and that the arts were frills and sports were frills. And because of that, they were not supportive as board members of doing what Title III suggested they should do. If this program works well, Title III says, we'll give you 3 years of funding, and then we would like for the school board and system to take it over and keep it running. As you know, that program was voted the best Title III program in the nation because of the excellence of the students in the program and the research that was done as it relates to how it changed students creatively and how they went from, you know, it was understood at that time, 5th graders, after the 5th grade, students tended to be less creative. So the Living Arts Center was sort of created to see if they could change that through the arts, to see if students would continue to be creative if they could be involved in the arts throughout their public school education. And it worked beautifully. You know, I just finished 3 days of intense, I guess, involvement in music as an art. Music Education Association conference here in Ohio. And I saw some wonderful things happening. Students were doing, not only performing well, they were creating music. So I think in many places it's going well. But unfortunately, whenever something needs to be cut, the arts tend to be the first thing to go. First, it's with equipment and supplies, and then with the actual teachers who use that equipment and supplies. So I would say it's certainly hanging on and doing well in many places, but it's a fragile existence because whenever there's a problem with funding, the arts tend to get the axe. I'm retired since 2002. I worked for 27 years after the Living Arts program at Sinclair Community College. And I was asked there to create a music department and program because it was a technical school prior to that, but when it became a community college, they wanted to include the arts. So they asked various people to come in. Jack DeVelvis, who was over the Living Arts program, was asked to create a division of fine and performing arts. So he asked a number of us to come in and help him create programs in the arts. And he asked me to do the music program. So for 27 years, I was involved at Sinclair, first as the first music department chairperson. And I utilized many of the things that we did at the Living Arts Center there at Sinclair. And many of the students coming through that program were exposed to the kinds of things that students were exposed to at the Living Arts program. For example, students who took music appreciation, for example, in my classes, they had to create music so that they would understand what Beethoven and Mozart and all the others were doing and better be able to appreciate it. So the first thing was to create. And that was certainly from the Living Arts Center, where students created music. So they got a taste of it even though the Living Arts Center was no longer in existence. It's really gratifying to see that all of these years later, the impact is still there. I've not met a person who went through the Living Arts program that was not changed by it. I was talking to Jim McCutcheon just a few months ago. He's a classical guitarist. He said he came to the Living Arts Center one day. He interacted with one of the guest artists there, Bunyan Webb, and it changed his life. One day. And I don't know if you know Jim McCutcheon, but just think of what he's done for this community. And that one day at the Living Arts Center caused that to happen. I'm just hopeful that people will see this event as an opportunity not only to buy some great art, but also to help the Living Arts program and Kathy Jeffers and those who are trying to document the outstanding things that happen there. So come out and buy and help the cause.
It was kind of universal in that it opened everybody up to the arts, but then it was very individualized because the students came with all different types of things that they were dealing with or skills they wanted to hone. For me personally, I had a very dysfunctional childhood, and besides opening me up to the arts, I also gained focus and discipline and perseverance. So really important things. What happened with me is it tore down the dysfunctional foundation I had and gave me something more solid to build on. I've thought about it all my life. It's just really, it helped me with decision making and everything. It's also something I did with my sister, and we didn't do too many things together, and I really enjoyed that. It's acrylic. I mostly do acrylic pour. I also do mixed media. The sparrows are mixed media. It's with clay and acrylic pours, but mostly I do acrylic pours. When I was trying to find my niche, so to speak, that's just what kind of came, so I really enjoy it. Yeah, you know, it was an interesting time in history. There was a lot going on back then, and so you've got all that mixture, and you've got the students coming from all over, and that was something. What I really hope is that someone sees this and they see a potential for the kids today to get them interested in other things, not knocking gaming or anything, but a chance for them to interact with other students and get their creative juices flowing. So I'm really hoping someone's going to see this and say, wow, you know, we need that in our community. And I'm hoping that's what happens. My email is ragpicker54@yahoo.com. The documentary is real important. We're in post-production now, so we got the funds to get to this point, and I know times are tough right now for people, but anybody that can donate, we really would appreciate it. I'd like to get it to completion and get it out there and share it with everybody. This is really great. There's a lot of people here. It's so different. Everybody's work is so different, which is great. It's really a great night.
Okay, well, the work I have on display here, these are called spontaneous watercolors. There's not a drawing first, it's just color goes down, and then you look at it for a while and see what you could perhaps make out of it as a way of a landscape. The other one is an acrylic of sunflowers, so that was easy. But this is fun to do because it's creative and just, you know, no real direction. It seems like I've been painting and drawing all my life, but as the children got older, I was able to devote more time to it. So that's when I started doing workshops and participating in workshops, and eventually now I'm teaching art a couple days a week, and it's really fun. My background is in nursing. I'm a registered nurse, but this is the love I have for painting. It's really fun because it's a passion that I have to share what I have to give with others, and I think even if you're not an artist yourself, it's a gift if you have the ability to appreciate what other people do. It enriches your life so much. And so it's a way of giving to others, I think, and I enjoy it. Well, I'm in several galleries. I'm at the Artery at Front Street, which is a new artist community downtown Dayton. They took old buildings and converted them into artist studios. And I currently have work at Dayton Society of Artists and at the Contemporary Dayton Gallery downtown. So it's around and about. So I have a Facebook page and I'm on Instagram. So just use my name and the works come up. And then there's galleries posted on Dayton Society of Artists as well as Front Street. The Artery has a gallery. Well, I like the fact that it's inclusive for a variety of mediums, and there's craft and opportunities for people to participate, and then the music is wonderful. Jim McCutcheon and others will be performing, so it's kind of a little taste of everything, which is perfect.
I am throwing on the pottery wheel today, throwing ceramics, less sculpture and more throwing. Yeah, I prefer throwing over sculpting just because I feel like I have more control over the clay, and I like kind of moving it with my hands more and like feeling the way that the clay moves and like kind of understanding the thinness that it gets to. It's really fun. I like it. It felt good when I was asked to join because, I don't know, I've been working on my ceramics for like a year now, and it's just like I've been trying to get good at it, and then I finally felt like I'm at a point where I can kind of show what I do. A lot of people are impressed, which I was kind of shocked by, because my family always says that I'm amazing, but that's also my family. So yeah, but I enjoy it, and I'm happy that other people enjoy it, and it makes me want to do more of it and maybe like sell it. I definitely want to get a minor in ceramics in college just because I really want to continue doing what I do, and I want to get my own kiln and like spread what I do, start doing it more, because obviously like time is a big factor when it comes to clay, because timing is such an important factor. I'm hoping to continue in college, and then after college, I really like the show. It's been really fun, and it makes me feel like an important artist when I'm more like, I don't know, I don't like get out, like my art doesn't really get out there, and I don't know how to get it out there. But this was cool. Like, I'm happy that this happened, and I'm happy that it's for a good cause, because I think history of art's really important.
So today I have a lot of my current work, which is all about mental health and the society, what a lot of teenagers go through, and even adults. It's currently my thesis, which is what I'm working on in my AP class. I mean, it's just something really fun to me. I really love it. I love getting to express my emotion through all this way, and it's just really cool. I want them to stare at it as long as they can and just really make them think about who they are, who they want to be, and if they're really expressing that and being their true self. I was super excited. I wasn't just excited for myself. I was excited to see everyone and what they'd be bringing, and so far it's been amazing. I mean, the work I've seen, it's just blowing my mind, and I think it's really cool to get to see this huge group of people together and just doing what they love. Hopefully I can go to an art school. It's what I've been dreaming of doing, and I want to minor in some painting and major in interior design. It's amazing and it's crazy. I mean, it feels so good when people come out and you get compliments on your work, and just to know that other people really love it and that it brings joy into their life.
I applied to teach at the Living Arts Center after having, I was in a pastorate for a year and had a college degree in sociology and psychology and great interest in art. And so I went to Living Arts Center to look for a job, and Bing was looking for instructors who were passionate about their arts. And that was the way that they selected students. The students had to really want to be there. Didn't matter what the parents wanted. If the student was passionate about, really wanted to be there, that was the way in to the Living Arts Center. And so our interaction with each other, students and professors, was because we were both in love with the arts and were passionate about it. And what was so fantastic was we had actors and actresses and dancers from all over the world just popping in and out at any time. You never knew what international figure would just be popping in and popping out. It was just very, very fun and enlightening. And so it was, for me, it was a change of life for me. It gave me my opportunity to discover that I was a natural teacher. And from there on, I've taught 27 years at the University of Dayton. And so it was a life changer for me. Well, I think the greatest impact was students that are learning out of their right brain instead of the left brain. They have opportunity to discover that they have intelligence and resources they didn't know they had, because in the general school system, everything's directed toward the left brain, and that leaves those students who operate out of the right brain not quite comfortable, not quite developed. And so the Living Arts Center gave students a chance to really discover that for themselves. Also, some of the students, I learned later on, many years later, that it was a lifesaver for their lives. They did not have a good situation at home. It was the only place they felt safe, and the only place they felt like they were celebrated and given a safe place to be. And one of the interesting things about investigators, when they would come to look at the Living Arts Center, they would always go to the restrooms to take a look at the restrooms. There was no graffiti in the restrooms and no cigarette butts. And so that let them know that the students really cared about the place and were involved, because they were not defacing the place. So that made a great impact to learn that as faculty, that the students were that much engaged that they took care of the place along with us. Well, it's always a pleasure to meet people I've known before and then new people I hadn't met before. And when we get together as artists, there's just a natural camaraderie. Everybody sort of hugs everybody. We just feel at home with each other just because we have this passionate symbol of life between us. I mean, after all, art is about celebrating life, and so that's what happens when we get artists together at events like this. Well, the work I have currently up is smaller works with oil pastels and some watercolor. They're works I do at home on my dining room table just to keep my finger in, and also to use as instruction for students to show them how composition can be developed quickly. My normal works are much larger and involve starting off with acrylic and ending up with oil, so that I can get more careful modulations of lights and darks and color systems. So the oil pastel works quicker, and that's why I can work at home with that, and it's less messy than oil paint. I have a web page on Facebook, Terry Hitt Gallery/Studio, where most of my work is on that Facebook site. Or you can come down to K-12 Gallery Tejas, which is an after-school arts program, much like the Living Arts Center. And I have a studio there and a lot of work stored upstairs in the second floor. So come by or give me a call, let me know you're coming by so I can meet you there. Well, the Living Arts Center was the beginning of an awareness that the arts are significant for the development of young people. It really enhances their whole educational experience. And it was unfortunate that some of the members of the community called SOS, Save Our Schools, thought otherwise. They thought the arts were frivolous, were not helpful for the youth. They even suggested that we were using group therapy, and we were. Sometimes I would work with my students when I found that they were not working well, not cohesive, and take them into the ballet room where it was totally dark and stand shoulder to shoulder, and then ask them to move through the darkness and find each other without touching and without speaking. And it was a marvelous sort of mysterious experience that when you're walking around in the dark, you know someone is approaching you, or you know you're approaching someone. The mystery of that is just so wonderful to share with students. And some of my students that I've met later on in life remember that event at what a significant moment it was for them.
Kathy Jeffers asked me to help, and I think she felt that I do tend to know a lot of people in Dayton, and I'm a huge admirer of what the Living Arts Center was. I did not live in Dayton at that time. I wish I had had that opportunity to participate in the Living Arts Center, and I know a fair number of people who did. I also have become friends with people who were artist teachers there that have been friends of mine for many, many years. Kathy asked for my trees, and so this is a selection that I brought of trees when I'd spent some time thinking about how do you represent a year visually, and I had a number of ideas, and one I'm still working on. It's not really matured yet, but then I started thinking about trees. So I took one tree image and used it for each month of the year, changing it for each month. So the titles are just 1, 2, 3, 4 through 12, because I didn't want to reference it too directly, but there's a tree for each month. Well, I was always making things as a kid, you know. The Barbie doll thing was, I built Barbie a houseboat, and that was the end of Barbie, right? But I went to Ohio Northern University and received a Bachelor's of Fine Arts. And then I had the opportunity, and this is such a serendipitous thing. In 1981, I was living in Kansas City, Missouri, and working in an art supply store. And don't you know, I met Bing Davis in Kansas City. He was working on a ceramic mural there, and he bought his supplies from us at Langley's Art Supply. And I got to know him there. I moved to Maryland from Kansas City, and then it was in 1985 I came back to Dayton and reconnected with Bing. And he mentored me for about a year and a half. And his daughter Nia and my daughter Laura, the same age. So he would come to my house and work with me and bring Nia, and our 2 little girls would play. So I have known Bing for more than 40 years, and that's part of my connection to Living Arts as well, is Bing having been a teacher there. And I am very close friends with his wife Audrey as well. So it's just been total good luck, perhaps, meeting them and having Bing be my mentor. And then I went on and got my master's in humanities at Wright State University, but I focused in art for that degree. I've seen some old friends. I've seen some old friends that went to high school and elementary school with my husband, who grew up here in Dayton, which is fun. I think we had a really nice turnout, and people have been so receptive to supporting this documentary, which it's a key piece in Dayton's history. And Dayton has such an interesting history, and not enough people know about it. So this is another little piece of the puzzle. I have a studio at the Reckworth Company building at 447 East Monument Avenue downtown. And I'm always open for a visit. You know, you can contact me. And I have pieces around town showing or on permanent display at various places. www.pippingerart.com. people who participated at the Living Arts Center feel so deeply and strongly about it and what they gained from it. 2, I want to thank Kathy Jeffers for her hard work. She put together this amazing evening, and you know, she's a force to be reckoned with.
We had a couple students who were asked to just come and do a little sketching and illustrating and drawing and painting and sculpting and wheel throwing, and I said I would come along with them all. And also I'm friends with Kathy. I used to teach art at the Rosewood Art Center, and she worked there, and so we made a connection there. And then she's asked me over the years to do different events, and some I've done, and she's a go-getter. She makes things happen. And then other times I've not gotten myself involved. And when she asked this one, I was like, well, it's in Springboro. I really ought to do this because this Performing Arts Center is great. We use it with our schools. They've done amazing things. It wasn't even here when I first started. So we've seen this whole area get developed, and I think they're heading in the right direction. And it kind of reinforces that the arts are important just as much as any other subject, so I certainly think so. No, I'm an old Yankee boy. I grew up in New England and New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Vermont, and so I knew nothing about it until I was asked to be a part of this, but it sounds like a cool, kind of similar to this, so I just thought it'd be a good thing to help out with. I was asked if I would sketch, and I was at the point I already did my sketch, and the way I do most of my illustrations is I sketch it, scan it, fix it on the computer, and so that's the point where I am now. I figured whether I'm not the star here, so I just can, either way I got to get this done, so I figured I could put an hour into it or two here, might as well. So a couple people asked me about it, but mostly I just sat there quietly and worked, knowing that the kids were over here and making sure that they were. It's something that well rounds the community. I mean, I'm a big sport guy and I love sports, but I think that's something that always gets people out of their seats when we go to an event. And I think music and art is something that should appeal to everybody, and I'm glad to see it. I mean, everybody likes music, everybody likes art, but they don't always necessarily get out to take a part in it. And so it's cool to see people doing just that. And there's a lot of talent here, some amazing art, some amazing music. We have an amazing music department and art department just here in Springboro, but the other areas do too. I mean, Centerville, my kids went to Oakwood. I mean, it's all around here. Mind-boggling how talented some 16, 17-year-old kids are. So it's neat to see them be appreciated, and I think it's good for them. And I don't know if they're going to be artists. I know one of them wants to be in animation, and I think she can do it. Jordan's amazing, but the other two kids are also very highly skilled and super kids to work with. I mean, just great. I hope we do more things like this. I might see that there are a lot of things that still could be bid on, and it'd be nice if people came out and did just that. I mean, it's a good start.
The work that I brought to display down here at the Springboro Art Center were from two series that I've done. One is my Wright Brothers Then and Now series, and that is where I've taken an historic photograph by the Wright Brothers and of the Wright Brothers. They fall into both categories. And I've gone back to those same locations to create photographs of myself and then layered those things together. Now that series has taken me all over the country and also to France, because those are the places that they flew. Now after I did that series, I then worked on some things that a little more national in a sense, but so I did some other images from the Indianapolis 500 Speedway, and I'm showing 3. I got 4 historic images from the Indiana Historic Society, and then went back to the Speedway and took some photographs, and then took those images and layered those together. Now, as it turns out, because I show both these series, I show my work in a variety of places in the Midwest. The Indianapolis 500 series are my favorite. They're my fan favorite series, and it's amazing how many people are really drawn to these and have interest in them. When I was in high school, I had a very kind of normal curriculum. My two best friends were real artists, you know, could draw, that kind of stuff. And, you know, I didn't necessarily have any drawing skills. So, but I was interested in art because of my friends. Another friend of mine said, hey, I heard about this organization called Living Arts Center, and I would be interested in doing some photography or taking some photography classes. So I said that to my dad. This is where the story just kind of like really turns over. Said that to my dad, to my parents. And my dad said, well, that's interesting. You know, you could use my camera if you'd like, which I didn't know he had a camera. He said, you could also use my darkroom if you want. I have all the darkroom equipment. So when he was in high school and, you know, later, he had a camera, he had processed film, he had a darkroom, and he had an interest in photography. So that was my first interest in photography. And then, so, you know, I did photography there. And then when I graduated high school, I went to Sinclair for a year. I did all the photography classes they offered, and then went to Wright State. Eventually got a bachelor's degree in fine arts and photography and got a master's degree in fine arts and photography. But it started by just going to Living Arts because one of my friends said, let's go do something because it sounded like fun. You know, it's interesting to be part of Living Arts Center. You know, a lot of the kind of artwork that I have done, I've centered around various people in Dayton. So I did a series. I received a commission from the Montgomery County Libraries. So I have a piece in the Kettering Library, 6 by 10 feet, and it's about. And so I've done a lot of artwork around the personalities in Dayton. And one reason I've done that is because Dayton is such an innovative place. Now, the Living Arts Center was sort of at the forefront of arts education in high school before we had any dedicated arts high schools that we do now. We have Stivers here in Dayton. You know, every big city has like their arts high school. And this was just before that people even thought about that. So, you know, it was another situation where people in Dayton were trying to be creative, and they were saying, you know, okay, here, you know, these are students that don't fit into a mold, and we need to find a way to give them an opportunity to show their talents or whatever. And many of these people who went there, and maybe not complete art careers, but they had, you know, creative careers, and they're in, you know, New York and Los Angeles and all other places, and there's a lot of ways of being creative. It's the first time I've been in this building, and I think it's a great facility. You know, it's good that the community has a place. You know, the city of Springboro has a place that they can do this kind of stuff. The theater looks wonderful, so this is fantastic. I do artwork, you know, I want people to see. I want people to experience. People have told me that they like what I'm doing, they think it's interesting, they think it's creative, and so, you know, letting people experience that, I think, is important. I'm a full-time professional photographer, so I have a website, Cleary Creative Photo, with all my commercial work. I have Cleary Fine Art Photo, .com, which has all my fine art photography on it. I do some teaching, so I have Cleary Photo workshops. So I do a little teaching, and it kind of runs through that. But that's how you can find what I'm doing. I believe that it's important for students to have an opportunity to thrive in whatever field they're interested in. Not every child is born an athlete. You know, you need an opportunity to be able to find your talents, to find your way in life. You know, let that work.
So the work that I have on display here is supposed to mimic like a comic book style. So it's a series, so every single artwork leads into the next one, and so they all tell a story. I knew that there was going to be like a lot of mediums and a lot of artworks here, so when I got word of the show, I decided that it would be fun to try a different kind of style that you won't really see very often at an art show, so I think I got that down. For my future, I plan on going into animation, so digital art is a very big part of that, so that's pretty exciting. The work on display at the show it's very cute. I like it all. It's very like interesting and they're all different, so it's very nice. So when I got word of the art show, I was like, I want to do that. So, but then looking at all the artworks that I have right now, it was all like, I don't like any of these pieces, so I decided to work on them, but then I procrastinated until it was 3 days before the event. So I had to finish 5 artworks in 3 days. So didn't get a lot of sleep that weekend.
Through high school, I had unknowledgeable guitar teachers to a point where I was making 0 progress. And I went to UD and I majored in physics because of that. I didn't think I would be a very good musician. So I think it was my freshman year at UD, I heard about a class, a free guitar master class being given across town by a touring guitarist. So I went to the Living Arts Center and got to see the best guitarist that I had ever seen. I sat at his feet and just looked up in amazement. And when I played for him, he said, Jim, you really only have 2 problems. Your left hand and your right hand. And I thought it was like going to be a larger number than that, but that seemed like pretty serious problems. But he was a great guitarist, a great teacher, and a great human being. And he was there as a gift to the community through the Living Arts Center. And he said, tomorrow I'm leaving town. Before I leave, would you come to my hotel room and I will give you a lesson. We had a marathon lesson. It was 2 or 3 hours. And he said, I'm going to be back through Dayton next summer, and you need to know this. And I practiced every day, and I had a relationship with this artist for about 4 years. Once a year, we would meet for a lesson. And so that one day at the Living Arts Center gave me entry into the knowledge that helped me develop my technique to a point where I could make progress again. And when I got my physics degree, I ended up going on the road with a band and touring for 18 months and having a trial marriage with music and falling in love with it to a point where I said no to the medical school that accepted me. And I said, Mom, I'm going back to music school. And she just scratched her head and said, I hope you know what you're doing. And 3 years later, I had another bachelor's degree from Wright State. And they hired me, and I put my career together with lots of part-time adjunct positions at colleges. Well, anyone who is considering a career in the arts should not be able to imagine making money any other way. You know, I think you really have to be serious. Now, I could have gone a lot of different directions and earned a living, but I think this way I earned a life. And you know, they say don't quit your day job until you're really secure in what you're doing with your art. I think when you start to depend on your art to make money, it can change. And it takes a lot of pieces to fit together into your jigsaw puzzle of life to make that a possibility. I was very lucky in that a lot of them fell together. One of those pieces was meeting this man at the Living Arts Center. It's just to honor the fantastic break that I received by going to the Living Arts Center that one day in 1970. I have a Facebook page at Jim McCutcheon. I have a radio show on WDPR, Discover Classical, every week. I have a music store in Centerville called McCutcheon Music. I do that with my wife, Debbie, and we have 60 teachers, and it's just an incredible experience. So I'm out and about.